gentlemen, it is the Week 11 Pro Football Focus Chalk Talk podcast. I am Scott Barrett, joined by the great Tyler Buecher. Tyler, let's give the people what they want and jump right into the good stuff. Just looking immediately, I don't want to spend too much time outside of the main slate, but I did sort of want to give lip service to it at the very least. Let's talk about the Thursday night and Monday night slates to start. Both look kind of weird to me. DeMarco Murray is somehow only 4,800 on DraftKings this week. He is egregiously priced. There's a lot to like in Antonio Brown up against a Tennessee defense ranking second worst in fantasy points per game over expectation to wide receiver ones. Le'Veon Bell could draw low ownership against a Tennessee defense ranking seventh worst to running backs over expectation, fourth worst in receiving fantasy points per game allowed. He's averaging 34 opportunities per game since week 6. The next closest player is Adrian Peterson with only 26. So that's a big difference there. What are your thoughts on the Thursday night game?
So it's kind of tough. I like to play either the main slate or the Thursday through Monday full week long one. And it's tough with Pittsburgh because this is an offense where they could just go off at any moment. Last week I recommended the Pittsburgh onslaught, blew up in my face, but I still think it's a feasible option again back here in Week 11. The Steelers are 7-point home favorites. We should see them go off in this one. AJ Green just went for 25 fantasy points against the Titans secondary. Now it's Antonio Brown's turn. He's in a major bounce back spot here after a letdown last week. I just think that this is it's interesting from a game theory perspective. Okay, if we think the Steelers are going to go off, we either A, want to play this game and play a ton of Steelers, or B, fully fade it and just avoid that eruption possibility. I'm still on the fence as of recording now Wednesday night how much volume I want to play on this Thursday thing. What are you thinking either way? Are you leaning towards more action or less at this point?
I pretty much never play outside of the main slate. Just for, I guess, convenience sake, I have all my research, my rankings done and finalized maybe 25 minutes before the Thursday night game, so it just makes more sense for me to fade it outright and play the main slate. We also, of course, always talk about how Thursday night games draw ownership, so if we are going to play it, we typically fade those games. So let's talk about the Monday night game very quickly. Devonta Freeman's out. Tevin Coleman's super chalky. Seattle's going to be without Richard Sherman. That opens things up. Doug Baldwin is up against an Atlanta defense allowing the 6th most fantasy points per game to opposing slot wide receivers. J.D. McKissick with Procise out up against an Atlanta defense we've attacked all season with receiving running backs. He saw 5 carries, 5 targets last week. Anyone else stand out to you there, Tyler?
Just Mohamed Sanu. I think he's in a great spot here too against the Seahawks in the slot. As we're recording now for this Monday game, it's kind of difficult to figure out which plays I'm super into. Tevin Coleman, I'm not that into it. He'll get a ton of work, but I don't know how productive he'll be against this Seahawks defense. It's actually turned it around lately. They've improved the run defense quite a bit over the last few weeks. I'm not super interested in a ton of exposure to these plays here in this game. Julio, though, in any given tournament, he could go off and carry a lineup, but it's just been so unreliable this year with Steve Sarkisian calling the plays, and you just shake your head after looking at your rosters at the end of the day. And if I had spent that money elsewhere, where could my other lineups landed? That's just very tilting playing Julio this year.
Yeah, I definitely feel you there. Maybe we should make a support group for those of us who have continued playing Julio Jones all year. But Tyler, let's talk about the main slate, the good stuff. Let's go directly to our top quarterbacks this week. Who stands out to you? Because I wrote like 6 or 7 guys down at various price ranges who I feel are all in like a strong tier, and I have trouble breaking ties. So, Tyler, give me some names. Who stands out to you?
I'm going to start at the top. Tom Brady. He's the highest priced quarterback on DraftKings. I went super heavy on him last week, despite the tough matchup against Denver, and he didn't disappoint at all. He threw for 3 touchdowns, ended up finishing with 22.6 fantasy points, and I'm going back to the well again this week. He sets up for a terrific matchup here against the Raiders in Mexico. The Raiders have allowed the second most top 12 weeks to opposing quarterbacks this year, and they seem to have taken a step back lately. They've allowed the third most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks over the last 4 weeks. Brady is averaging 22.7 fantasy points per game, leading all quarterbacks on the main slate. He's thrown for multiple passing touchdowns in 6 of his last 8 games, and Oakland is no stranger to big outings to opposing passers. They've allowed 3 300-yard, 3-touchdown outings so far, and I'm wagering Brady joins that list as the 4th quarterback to do so. Who stands out to you as the immediate guy you want to have for this week?
Definitely good call on Tom Brady. Oakland ranks dead last in the league in opposing passer rating with 110.4, by far the worst in the league. Like you said, they've given up a ton of production to quarterbacks the last few weeks. And one of those quarterbacks was Jay Cutler. So only once in his 147-game career has he had a game where he threw for 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. 147 games. And it came in Oakland's last game. That's how bad this defense has been to opposing quarterbacks. When Jay Cutler is having a career game, you know you're in trouble. You asked me who stands out after that, and it's really tough. It just so many different guys I like. Yeah, Alex Smith is a guy I'm kind of on. We know the Andy Reid coming off of a bye narrative. We all saw how well coached Kansas City was with extra time to prepare in the season opener against New England. The Chiefs have the 3rd highest implied point total of the week. The Giants rank 3rd worst in fantasy points allowed per dropback, 4th worst to quarterbacks over expectation. Alex Smith has 293 pass attempts this season. Among all 1,244 quarterback seasons where a quarterback threw the ball at least 293 times, Smith's passer rating ranks 7th best, and his adjusted yards per attempt ranks 10th best. Really on an all-time season. That's how well he's been playing. The Giants rank 3rd worst in pressures per dropback. Honestly, this team looks like they've just completely given up on defense. There have been 38 instances of a quarterback scoring 25 points this season. The Giants have accounted for a league-leading 4 of those, with 3 coming in their last 3 games. I like Kareem Hunt a lot, and we'll talk about him a little bit later, but I could see, if I'm running out a lot of lineups, going heavy on Alex Smith on some and then Hunt on the rest. What do you think about Alex Smith?
I like it. I have all of his weapons written down as great plays. Might as well go for the stacks and add Alex Smith as well. I think those are some great stats he threw out there. I know his accuracy has been through the roofs this year as well, so he's just completing pass after pass, and it's a ceiling unlike any other that we've seen from him this year.
What are you going to do with the Dallas-Philly game? So Philly is allowing the most passing plays per game. Dallas is allowing the 4th most. Could definitely see this being a high-scoring shootout. Carson Wentz leads all quarterbacks in fantasy points per game since week 5. Dallas might not be able to keep their typical style of keep away, grinding the clock without Zeke, and possibly Tyron Smith as well. Philadelphia also leads the league in yards per carry allowed. Prescott has finished as a QB1 in 8 of his last 10 games, a top 3 quarterback in 3 of his last 5 games. He leads all quarterbacks in fantasy points per dropback the past 2 seasons. What are your thoughts on these 2 quarterbacks?
I think it's a really, really interesting matchup. A lot of it depends on the health of Tyron Smith. We saw last week him out of the game was a huge, huge detriment to this offense. Team allowed a ton of sacks to the Falcons, and it was a complete embarrassment. The whole offense was derailed. Dak Prescott had no time to throw and was constantly harassed throughout that game. The Eagles' front four, I think, can put up a similar amount of pressure. They are stout from edge to edge along that defensive line, and I think they're going to give the Cowboys a tough time as well. As far as what I think for each quarterback, Carson Wentz has been unreal this year. He's taken his game to a whole nother level from what we've seen from his rookie season. I think he's in play, and I think he's a great option for tournaments if you're looking for a high ceiling kind of performance. The game's being played in Dallas, so I'm not 100% sure what kind of outcome we could expect from the Cowboys. I think Dak's definitely in play. It's tough without his left tackle, though, I'll be honest. And it makes me want to just load up on the Eagles' defense, if anything. We saw how many sacks they allowed last week. That kind of pressure can lead to a ton of turnovers, a ton of pick sixes, and anything can happen in a divisional game.
If you guys want some good stats talking about the importance of Tyron Smith, check out my 5 Stats to Know article that I post every Monday morning. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The Eagles are actually leading the league in pressures per dropback. So missing him would be huge. Although with a full week to prepare, I think it's likely the Cowboys find a way to scheme around it. Maybe chipping, bringing extra help for whoever's covering that side of the field. But again, yeah, that's a huge loss. It would definitely probably keep me off of Prescott. Let's talk about the cheap quarterbacks. I think there are 2 who immediately stand out. That's Blaine Gabbert and Blake Bortles. Gabbert is not yet officially confirmed the starter, but it's looking very likely he will start. Tyler, which of these 2 quarterbacks do you prefer?
I like them both for different reasons. I think Bortles is a better tournament option. I think he has a higher ceiling than Gabbert, but I think Gabbert may have just as safe as a floor at a $300 salary saving difference. They're both priced super cheap this week, and so the thing with Bortles is he's going against the Browns defense. It's a funnel defense. They're very good against the run. They're going to force him to pass. That's why Bortles is appealing. Gabbert's appealing because his price tag is just under $5K, which is unreal for a starting QB, and I think that's what makes him most appealing. Is